Nineveh is in northern Iraq. It was one of the capitals of the Assyrians. And it was also the city that Jonah went to. When did Jonah live? Well, the book of Jonah doesn't actually give us any indication when he lived. But we do know from the book of 2 Kings 14:25, that Jonah issued another prophecy. 2 Kings records that Jeroboam II, king of Israel, was the one who restored the boundaries of Israel from Lebo Hamath to the Sea of the Arabah, in accordance with the word of the Lord, the God of Israel, spoken through his servant Jonah, son of Amittai, the prophet, from Gath Hepher. Jeroboam II, king of Israel, reigned from 781 to 753 BC. So if Jonah was making a prediction about the territorial expansion that was going to happen under Jeroboam II, it would seem that he lived a few years before that date. In general terms, Jonah lived in the first half of the 8th century BC. Now, it's interesting to note what's going on in Assyria at that time. This is a unique period in Assyrian history. Normally, the Assyrian central monarchy was very strong. But in this period, and uniquely in this period, provincial governors seem to have been the most important people. The authority of the king in the capital Nineveh was weak, to say the least. And it's in this period we have inscriptions erected by the governors themselves. We know of two, Nergal-Eresh and Shamshi-Ilu, who erected a number of their own inscriptions, and on these inscriptions recorded campaigns that they themselves made without or with only passing reference to the authority of the king. It's interesting in the book of Jonah that the king is not called king of Assyria, he's called king of Nineveh. And it would seem that this is an accurate representation of what was going on in that part of the world at that time, the first half of the 8th century BC. The Assyrian monarchy was very weak, and the king of Nineveh probably was king only of Nineveh and of little else besides. And it's also significant that the decree that is issued in the name of the king and his great ones. In other words, the generals who seem to have been calling the shots at that time. And this is evidence, I believe, that Jonah went to Nineveh at that time. His mission to Nineveh, if you can call it that, fits nowhere else in Assyrian history.